The future classic canon won't just be literary fiction. It'll be comics, science fiction, crime, and horror. The question isn't whether these books are good enough. It's whether the gatekeepers expand enough to let them in. Hello, welcome to my channel. Another Bibliophile Reads. My name is Greg, and today I am answering a tag. The contemporary books that are already classics in my heart. This tag was created by Andrew at YouCouldBeReadingMore, and I was tagged by my friend Pat at Book Chat with Pat. This tag is very simple. It only has one prompt. List and talk about books from any genre that are published post the year 2000 that you want to be remembered as classic novels in the future. Well, I'm going to cheat just a little bit and include one book that was published in the year 2000. I also want to talk a little bit about what makes books a classic. You have the Steve Donahue method, which says classics are books from classic antiquity, Greece or Rome. Books like the histories from Herodotus. Obviously, all those books are already written, and you can't have any future classics in this category. And then there is the Penguin classics. A book is a classic if it's published by Penguin. I think that is a little too limiting. And there is, of course, the Signet classics. That has the same problem with the Penguins. Just a little bit too limiting to be published by just one publisher. Now, here is my absolute favorite publisher of classic books. This is the New York Review Book of Classics. I actually think that some of my selections in this video may eventually wind up published by NYRB in the future. But I want to leave what a classic is open to interpretation. A classic, in my mind, is usually a book more than 50 years old and older than the year you were born in. That is just my definition. It is not canon by any means whatsoever. But these books are books that I want to be classics sometime in the future. As the title says, classics in my heart. Some of my book choices definitely fall outside of the literary fiction category. But I firmly believe that genre fiction can be equally as good and great and profound and entertaining as the best of literary fiction. There are the gatekeepers out there who want to exclude genre fiction. Oh, that's only a mystery. Oh, that's science fiction. Ooh, that's horror. Horror can't be literary. Horror cannot be a classic. Mystery can't be a classic. Science fiction cannot be a classic. And a graphic novel, well, unless it's Mouse, it's not a classic. And I hope to prove those gatekeepers wrong with these 6 choices, or 5 out of the 6 choices, are definitely leaning towards the genre category. Let them in. Let them be classics. So here we go. Here are 6 books that I want to be classics in the future. And again, I'm starting off with a little bit of a cheat. I'm picking a book that was partially written in the 90s. I believe some sections of this book were published in the 90s, but the final book was published in the year 2000. And this is Clyde Fans by Seth. Seth is a Canadian cartoonist associated with the literary graphic novel movement. His works often explore memory, nostalgia, and the mid-century urban life. He is a key figure in elevating comics into serious literary art. And this is a graphic novel, and I absolutely agree. This is serious literary work. There is a comment in the back about how this author came to write this book. He was walking around in a Canadian city. I forget exactly which one. And he came across an abandoned building. And in that building was a business, Clyde Fans. And he looked through the window. I think he could see 2 pictures of Ben in the background, but it was closed for a long time. He knew nothing about these men, nothing about this business, but he decided to write this graphic novel about this business, Clyde Fans, and who those 2 men in the window could have been. It is the story of a business set in a Canadian city that used to sell fans. This was in an era when there was no air conditioning, and fans were sold in multiple stores, and this story follows the 2 brothers, and it is the story of 2 brothers. And it starts off with one of the brothers who is a very old man. He is living in the apartment above the closed business, Clyde Fans, and he's talking about his life. And it's a very sad life. It is the life of an old man who is remembering and has no one else in his life. And again, look at some of the coloration. This is the color. He has this off blue, off gray coloring that he does all his illustrations in. And it's a very unique coloring system that I really liked. And I like the story because it starts off with this fan business when it was bustling. It was a successful business, and there were 2 brothers who inherited it from their father. One brother is the narrator old man in the first section, and he runs the business. But he's trying to keep up with his brother, give his brother a job who is not really good at sales, not really good at running a business, but his brother is trying to help his brother succeed in life, sort of unsuccessfully. And this is just a deeply interesting story. It is quiet. It is slow. It is emotionally muted. And I like that in a story. But this emotional muting may put off some readers who want a little bit of vibrancy, a little bit of color, a little bit of excitement. Because this story doesn't have any real excitement in it other than ordinary life excitement. But as a graphic novel, I think this works very well for me because it is the type of reader that I like. The slow, the muted, the quiet, the thoughtful. This is a great book. And I do hope it can be made into a classic someday. But there's going to be a little bit of pushback. As I said, it's just not what a lot of readers would want to read nowadays. And that's unfortunately. Maybe the future classics can include books like this. Elena Knows by Claudia Pineiro, originally published in Spanish in 2007 and translated into English in 2021. Claudia Pineiro is an Argentine novelist, playwright, and journalist known for crime fiction with a strong social themes. She is one of Latin America's most widely read contemporary writers. And this is technically a crime story. That's sort of how her publishers and her public push her works as a crime writer. But she's much more than a simple crime writer. This book tackles aging, bodily autonomy, and religion with unusual intensity. It is structurally tight, almost allegorical. This story follows Elena. She is an older woman suffering from severe Parkinson's disease. Her daughter has died. She was found in a church, hanging from the rafters from a rope. Elena believes her daughter was murdered. The police say it is a suicide. But Elena knows things about her daughter and says, there is no way my daughter could have committed suicide. It absolutely has to be murder. And no one believes Elena. So Elena is traveling across the city of Buenos Aires because of her Parkinson's disease. This becomes an epic journey of pain and struggle. And if you think of a struggle story, of an epic story, of a journey, you may not think of an old woman suffering from Parkinson's disease, but that's what it becomes. It becomes an epic struggle for a human to survive and prove to the world that her daughter did not kill herself. And the ending of this book is very powerful. I was not really expecting it to end the way that it did, but it ended the way the book had to end, with the conclusion that truly made sense. Was it a crime novel? Yes, it was a crime novel of sorts, but it's also a very powerful literary novel exploring this woman, Elena, who is determined to prove that her daughter did not commit suicide. There are issues with this book, I guess, becoming a classic. Its scale is modest. This is really just a novella. Its recognition outside of literary circles is still developing. And maybe, like Clyde fans, it is too quiet for some people. But again, for me, that's what I like when I read. And I hope this gets above the sleeper candidate for classics. I hope it does get published in the future as a classic. And this would be a great inclusion for the New York Review's books of classics sometime in the future, 20 years or so. It's a really devastatingly good book. Book number 3, Faithful Place by Tana, French, originally published in 2010. Tana French is an Irish-American writer, best known for the Dublin Squad series. She is widely respected for blending crime fiction with deep psychological and literary elements. Faithful Place is the third book in the Dublin Squad murder series, but you don't really have to read those first two to appreciate Faithful Place. Tana French does something very unique with her murder series. Each of her books has a different narrator. I forgot the name. I remember the narrator from her first book, Into the Woods, but at the end of the book, slight spoiler, he decides not to be a homicide detective anymore, and his sidekick, a woman, takes up narration in the second book. She is technically employed in the undercover division, but for certain reasons, she's sent out to solve a murder. And she has a boss who is in charge of the undercover division. And this boss is the narrator of this third book. As I said, he runs the undercover division in the Dublin police, and he has been a police officer for about 20 years, something like that. But years ago, when he was just a boy growing up, he intended to run off to England with his girlfriend and form a rock band. And on the night that they're going to meet up and run away, she disappeared. She left him a note, basically telling him, "Go bugger off, I'm on my own." So he decided to become a police officer. 17 years later, her body is discovered in an abandoned building, murdered. Now, since he is in charge of the undercover division, he is not the police detective for this murder. That is a man named Kennedy. And in this book, Faithful Place, Tana French explores the people from the narrator and his family who may have remembered this woman. And there's one great scene in this book where the narrator is drinking in a pub. He is with his friends, and they are remembering things from the past when they were growing up. And it's obvious to the reader, but not necessarily the narrator, that someone at the table knows something about the murder and may have even committed the murder. And it's just a great scene because this is how Tana French works. She works through characters. She works through dialogue. There is no exciting chases in Faithful Place. There's no guns firing in Faithful Place. There is just a murder that was committed long ago. And there is this need to discover who did this murder. And what really makes this book great is that it follows up. Because I said the actual person solving the murder is Detective named Kennedy, and Kennedy is really hated by the narrator and by the reader. And when I finished reading Faithful Place, I learned that the fourth book in the series would be narrated by Kennedy. And I said, how can an author pull off a book narrated by such a detestable character? But when you get to know the character of Kennedy, you can understand why people think he's detestable, but you can also understand him. So I've given you a little bit about a lot more books than just Faithful Place, but in the canon of the Dublin Squad series, Faithful Place is my favorite of Tana French's books and is an excellent murder mystery. And I do hope it becomes a classic. Book number 4, The Dying Grass by William T. Vollmann, originally published in 2015. William T. Vollmann is a prolific American novelist and journalist known for massive, ambitious works, blending fiction, history, and reportage. He is often compared to Thomas Pynchon and Don DeLillo for scale and difficulty. And I really cannot give much of a plot summary from this book. It is absolutely massive. It is 1,356 pages long. Is on the cover, it says, a novel of the Nez Perce War. And that really just sort of sums it up. Now, the Nez Perce were American Indians living out east. They settled on a reservation given to them by the government. And then the government discovered that there were valuable materials on their land. So they decided the Nez Perce had to get off their reservation land and go out west to new land. Let's just say that the American Indians, the Nez Perce, were not pleased with this decision to relocate them. And they started a war with the American government. This was after the Civil War. And there are no good guys and there are no bad guys. All of the characters, whether they're Americans or Indians, are shades of gray. They all have their good qualities and their bad qualities. But it is the depth of Vollmann's knowledge, his scope of history, that truly make this book entirely fascinating. And he has this unique style that he sort of invented for this book. He calls it just indents. And what happens is that you'll have a character, and the character has a stream of thought. And suddenly that thought leads to a different thought. And then William T. Vollmann indents the paragraph. And you continue on for a line or two until the thought changes, and then you indent again. So you can have multiple indents, which leads to text that looks like this, sort of poetic. Is it a great style? I don't think he'll be trying it again, but I'm glad that he tried it in this book. I don't think other authors will try it because it's just a unique style to this book. And if you're interested in American history, what was done with the American Indian, read this book. William T. Vollmann pretty much comes down on the side of the American Indians. As I was listening to him give a speech somewhere in Seattle, where he said the American Indians get effed across the board, across history. And he did not use the word effed in the speech. But it's a great book. It's history, it's fiction, it's fascinating. I think this may have trouble becoming a classic because it's just very dang long. It requires a strong attention span. And the attention spans of the American reading public and the reading public across the world are shortening. That may prove to be difficult for this book, but I hope the American readers and the foreign readers across the world can appreciate this book. It's worth your time. It's worth your effort. It's worth becoming a classic in the future. Number 5, Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky, originally published in 2015. Adrian Tchaikovsky is a British science fiction and fantasy writer known for ambitious world building and evolutionary themes. He won the Arthur C. Clarke Award for Children of Time. Why do I think this book will be a classic? It has a great conceptual hook. It is about the evolution of spiders into intelligent, sentient beings. It is about time and civilization and what happens when a civilization collapses and survivors try to revive their civilization. It is about the conflicts between alien species meeting each other. How do spiders, who are intelligent, talk to humans who are intelligent? It's great science fiction. The prose, well, it may not be the best prose in the world, but it is functional prose. It is an exciting story. It will take you into the far future and it will explain how to get along with other people and other species. And I think this is one of the best science fiction novels that I have read that was been published in the 21st century. I do hope this becomes a classic of science fiction. Number 6, The Fisherman by John Langan, originally published in 2016. John Langan is an American horror writer associated with the literary horror movement, and his work blends cosmic horror traditions with emotional realism. This is a novel about a man suffering from grief. He lost his wife in an accident, and he learned that his grief could be muted, can be held at bay by fishing. And when one of his colleagues at work loses his family to an accident, he teaches his friend, come fishing with me, and let's learn how to handle our grief. Because all humans need to learn how to handle grief. And that works for a while, until they learn of a story, of something in the woods where maybe the dead can be returned to you. Now, if you are a reader of horror, you should know right away that never try to get the dead to return. That's what makes a great horror story. Now, this story has a nested story in the middle. This is someone giving them a warning of why they should not visit this place, this fishing place, where you may be able to get the dead returned to you. Now, some readers dislike this nested story in between, but I actually thought it made the book better. But that's the kind of reader I am. I am willing for storylines to diverge, to get a little bit different. They don't have to be tight and forward moving at all times. And again, this just turns into a fabulous cosmic horror story. Okay, those are my 6 contemporary books that are already classics in my heart. Do you agree with me? Put it in the comments. Do you disagree with me? Put it in the comments. If you really want to get bold, do your own version of this tag. I'm not going to tag anyone specifically, but please feel free to do this tag if you want to. Thank you for watching and keep on reading.